Yeah, got my popcorn for the show, it's Tubi time. Cheesy sci-fi flicks, and every weird rhyme. Aliens and spaceships made of tinfoil dreams in a cardboard universe where nothing's as it seems.
Hello, and welcome to Film Logic's To Be Decided. I'm Mike, and today we have a special story from Crossroads, the story of three childhood friends, Lucy, played by Britney Spears, Kit by Zoe Saldana, and Mimi by Taryn Manning, who after 8 years apart rediscovered their friendship on a cross-country trip.
I think we watched a different movie. I think you watched the wrong one.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I saw something completely different.
Wait a minute, you too, Mike?
Yeah.
That can't be right.
Oh no.
Oh man.
You got duped by your own pick.
Oh man. Guys, it's been a great episode. See you later. No. Welcome to Be Decided. We all saw Crossroads 1986. My name is Mike, and I am with...
What's up? I'm Adam.
I'm Ivy.
And I'm Vin. And I actually did pick this one.
Yeah.
Yep. So, Vic, it was your choice. And you went right for Crossroads, the non-Britney Spears version.
Correct.
Unfortunate.
Correct. Yes. Though perhaps not quite as iconic as Miss Spears' outing was. This is, in my opinion, a hidden gem of Tubi. And we will talk to every peoples out there about why this is considered such.
I hope so. Well, first, let's get into the facts and figures. As stated, it's a movie from 1986, starring Ralph Machio, starring Ralph Machio, Joe Seneca, Jamie Gertz, and a lot of other memorable people.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. This got on IMDb, this got a 7.1 with a certified, or it got a Fresh Tomatoes rating.
That's
pretty
Yeah,
high.
on like 17 reviews.
17 reviews, 17 people that liked it.
All 17 accounts are just Vin's alter accounts.
Yes.
You can't prove
But,
that.
you know, the popcorn meter has 10,000 plus ratings, so it's an 82 on that at least.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Well, they did have a little time to get the ratings in.
Yeah. It's been a while.
Spoiler
So
alert, there's Crossroads at the end.
Yeah. So this is a biopic. All right. This is our first kind of historical movie.
That's a wild way to put it.
Yes,
I mean,
and go continue.
well, I'm saying it's the most educational movie we've seen.
Yeah, and Leviathan was a Leviathan was a nature documentary.
Yeah, it was a military movie.
You know, we gotta take our wins and losses, guys.
Yeah, and Dante's Inferno was a theological study.
Yeah.
So you up until like an hour ago, I thought this was pure fiction and all the names were made up. And then it's based on real people, real blues players. So that is what I learned from this.
Mm-hmm.
So it drove you to learn. It inspired you.
It forced me to learn against my will. Whatever happened to escapism?
The blues was the real learning we did along the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would probably call this a work of creative nonfiction. I mean, that does kind of sound
historical
like
fiction.
A contradiction in terms, but you know, it's yeah. I mean, there are a few liberties taken, as I'm sure we will get into once we discuss the plot and the pacing of the film.
Yeah. It's like the Rose of Versailles anime. It's like, sure, some of them were real, but, it's fiction.
Yeah.
It's fiction.
Or Dragon Ball Z. Sure, it's based on martial arts, but some of it's fiction.
Right.
Right. Anyway, so who Vic, this was your choice. You said this was a classic that you've seen earlier and you rewatched it for the sake of the show. Why did you want a movie about the blues and possibly about devil possession?
Well, it's for a simple reason. Nobody does this podcast until they sing the blues. Oh wait, that's a different movie. That's Adventures in Babysitting. My bad. Okay. No, but we were discussing off recording a couple weeks ago, nary a fortnight ago. After we had recorded the Leviathan discussion, we got to talking about the Sinners movie that was out with Michael B. Jordan. And, that kind of got some of my neurons firing, synapses connecting. And I remembered this movie, which for a substantial part of it is set down in, the Mississippi blues country. It does have, a certain degree of, rock nostalgia to it. And also a little bit of demonic bargaining. Although I did promise a show that we would not be going to hell for my pick this time. We are only going to hell adjacent. I mean, that's basically what Mississippi is.
New Jersey. Oh.
Well, you're not wrong.
It's hell to spell it, that's for sure.
Hey.
So, Vic, not to put you on the spot again, but can you give us a brief rundown of the plot?
Absolutely. The story follows a young man named Eugene, played by Ralph Machio, who is actually a student at Juilliard. Through a whole series of research montages, basically what we would be doing, Googling in present day. He's at the library reading books and bringing up microfiche. He learns about Willie Brown, who was a contemporary of Robert Johnston's, who apparently was sitting in with him when he brought 30 incredible blues songs to a recording session. And legend has it they recorded only 29 of them. So this inspires young Eugene to strike out as a bluesman himself by learning the 30th song. How would he do that? Well, I'll tell you how. He would do that by tracking down Willie Brown, who happened to be living in a rest home in Harlem. He tells Eugene that he knows about the 30th song, this mysterious track that's floating in the ether, and says that if Eugene can bring the both of them down to Mississippi, he will teach him the song.
What is that? I can't remember the town, but there's a very they run into some interesting characters.
Oh yes, they do. They do. I hope I'm not getting too far ahead of myself remembering, but after they hoof it and they thumb it on their own for a spell, they come upon what's seemingly an abandoned farmhouse, only to discover a young woman inside who is changing her clothes after coming out of the rain, just as they had done just prior. And this young woman is named Frances.
Played by Jamie Gertz.
A little bit because, as Willie informs Eugene, they're definitely going to get more rides with her in their party. The old trope of showing a little leg on the roadside. Yeah, he's strumming his Telecaster, Willie's on his mouth harp, and they're earning some greenbacks. They're having a good time down south. But there happened to be a street, kind of like a dirt road street, where on one side there was a blues shack, frequented by, persons of African American persuasion. And across the street on the other side was quite apparently a country western barn. Willie has to tell Eugene and Francis, hey, this is how it is down here. You'll have to stay, you'll have to, just find a way to earn some money over there. I'm going to go into this blues shack and get myself a drink. Francis gets a little bit handsy with one of the country western patrons, ends up lifting his wallet, which she at first denies, wholeheartedly taking. But, the situation escalates. Eugene starts getting a little too brave for his boots, saying, hey, you know what? I got a gun. You better leave her alone. Again, when the barkeep has a shotgun of his own, telling you, hey, you can't have those kind of shenanigans in my bar. Get out. Forced to mosey on over to the other side and go into the blues bar, where, of course, they stick out like sore thumbs. He steps in by going up to the stage and playing on his mouth harp and welcoming young Lightning up on stage to join him, to start playing the blues. And they strike up the music. And at first, the woman that Willie was talking to, he tries to tell her, I'm Willie Brown from back in the day. And she's like, I don't believe you. No. But as soon as everyone hears Willie and Eugene play, they are just cutting it up. They are having a good old time. The entire bar is roaring. They end up making like $300. Now, things kind of take a turn from here. I mean, because we're kind of expecting Francis to be part of, this merry band. But Willie seems to convince her that it's better off for her to go off on her own than to stay with them. And so he gives her one of the hundreds that they earned, and she goes on her way. And this, of course, breaks Eugene's heart. And this is the time when Willie has to come clean about the other hustle that he had made, because there was no mysterious 30th song that Robert Johnson had to record. He just had 29 songs to record, and that was it. Eugene suddenly gets inspired right then to get up, pick up his Telecaster, and play one of the saddest blues solos in the entire film. It's almost as if Willie had Miyagi'd him. And so now he's an old man, fearful for what might become of him when he leaves this mortal coil. So it's this crossroads that he and Eugene are on the way towards. And they find it. They find the crossroads. And someone drives up, seems to have the same appearance as the assistant to whom he sold his soul to back 60 years ago. It says, "Hey, Legma's not in charge anymore. Now it's a fella named Scratch." And so he drives off, and out of nowhere, this old man appears, who apparently is the Scratch that he had sold his soul to. Of course, Eugene, young lightning here, he gets the bright idea to once again be a hero and say, "Hey, you know what? I'll put my soul on the line too." And Willie's like, "No, you can't do this. You can't. I'm not going to let you sell your soul." But it's too late. Scratch has already struck up the deal. He will go up against a challenger that he has recently made a deal with. And they say that he's been playing bars in Nashville, I want to say. But immediately they're whisked off to a gin joint blues bar that definitely seems like it could have been set way further south than Nashville.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
I thought it was hell, to be fair.
Who do they find themselves up against but the one and only Steve Vai? Eugene rises to the occasion and he plays his heart out, seemingly taking into account everything that he's learned. He pours his very soul into every one of the solos that he performs in this duel. In a solo that looks like it must have cost Eugene like 10 years of his life, he wails some of the finest blues that ever been played, and Steve chokes. And as they find themselves whisked back to the crossroads in Mississippi, Willie and Eugene talk about their next destination.
As credits roll.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, thank you. And so there was a lot in
Mhm.
that description, including 3 different genre changes, I feel. So we're going to go
Yep.
around. We're going to talk about our most memorable scenes, what we felt like really grabbed us and why it grabbed us. Starting with you, Adam.
Yeah. Yeah, this
Mhm.
this movie is definitely a departure from what Ralph Macchio is known for.
Well, if
um
that wasn't apparent, then
and yeah, I mean I don't know what's wilder, like the grip on, real life music history, or Ralph Macchio's guitar playing ability was suspect at best.
Mhm.
I genuinely couldn't tell because sometimes it would like not show him playing, but sometimes it did look like he was playing, and I was really confused.
And he
Well, he
wasn't playing very
probably
loudly.
no.
So-
Yeah.
Well, in actuality, he had probably learned enough guitar to at
Right.
least,
Make it look
stage
believable.
play.
Yeah.
know?
The
Oh,
first
man.
3 frames, he'd have correct chords. And then whatever happened after would be up to the director.
Yeah.
According
Anyway.
to this, it was featuring classical guitar by William Geiser. Is he the one who did the original music, who filled in for young Ralph
thought-
Machio's playing?
Who knows?
It's
He dubbed
entirely
his
possible.
guitar. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh.
I'm kind of wondering if Steve Vai himself had dubbed in the winning guitar solo.
Oh yeah.
The one he choked on at the end. But realistically, the man threw that match. He threw
Well,
it. I mean,
Yeah, I have thoughts on that.
yeah.
the that classical piece that Eugene plays at the end, we were talking about this before
Yeah.
the podcast, was actually a piece by a dude named Pagnani, whatever, Italian, as we can tell,
Mhm.
and he's also known for being a Faustian bargainer, who allegedly traded his soul to be able to play uh his violin very well. So that was a cool
Oh.
little, if you're in the know.
Yeah, like a musical callback.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
So
So
here's my question. I am not guitar literate by any stretch of the imagination. But
Mhm.
we all, I think everyone knows that, Steve Vai is the shredding king. The work he did on Halo and so many other things is far beyond anything we've ever heard. And he practically invented a whole genre of metal. But
Oh yeah, without question.
now, young Ralph Macchio, he knows classical guitar and he knows blues because he's really into it. Do those two things correlate because, well, my question is just because you're good at classical and
Right.
you know blues
Mhm.
doesn't mean you can shred like Steve Vai, but he wins. And he does it in a
Mhm.
shreddy metal way, which I thought, well, all music stems from jazz and blues. But would it correlate 1-to-1? We're like, oh yeah, I practice blues, so now I know how to shred like Metallica. Does it work like that?
That
No,
well,
no,
that's
Mike,
what I
that's
thought when I picked up a guitar.
no, Mike.
Yeah.
That's what we call plot armor.
Yep.
Plot armor.
Plot
Well, he
chords.
holds that armor for a very long time. Like, if I was challenging Steve Vai, I'd be like, dude, we're not even in the same genre.
No.
Yeah.
I'm like a blue belt in blues. I got to work my way up to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
I like that the the movie is like trying to sell itself, on the backs of the people that built blues and modern rock music, and then the final sequence was between two white dudes playing not jazz.
That's what I thought.
Oh my gosh, I did not think of that. Now I can't unsee it.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
to be clear, jazz and blues are distinct, different genres. But I understand what you're saying. They're basically, playing in a genre that seems, at least on the surface, completely out of pocket for the tone of the movie. But I mean, the fact is that, you know, modern rock and a lot of, contemporary music owes its roots to the blues.
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's inarguable. But like,
Hmm.
if Ralph Macchio was training to be a blues musician, and like that's the plot of the movie, don't you want the climax of the movie to be like a blues off, not like
Right.
Maybe a zombie Robert Johnston because he sold his soul and
right, right. Like why?
Yes.
I don't know. It'd be like, yeah, I don't know.
It's like the
It
final
just seemed
boss wasn't
weird.
even
Yeah.
the genre of the music that they were obsessed with.
right.
Right. But it just felt like the perfect whitewashing ending to the movie. Like it just felt like, yeah, this feels right.
It's still an 80s
You know,
movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, that kind of was the sign of the times in the 80s.
I will say though, the girl that was dancing, kind of doing like the provocative and like taunting dance
Yes, I
through the
loved
whole
her.
thing, she
Hmm.
was amazing.
Yes.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
the real winner of this.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
She carried the scene.
I mean, that was so. If I was the devil and I had to annoy the heck out of someone, I would do those moves she did. Like that's exactly how I envisioned Satan dancing.
I could see it.
Mm-hmm. All right, Ivy, most memorable scene.
Well, I guess the only scene we've been really talking about is the ending, riff off. But I just thought it was really funny because they were both, doing very well. But obviously, the guy's like shredding and everything, and Ralph Macchio was like trying to shred, and then he suddenly shreds, and then the other guy like messes up. And it's like, what do you mean like you failed that? You were just doing that. Like that's not different from what you've
Right.
been doing the entire time.
Right.
But yeah, the scene was just really cool looking. The reason One of the reasons I thought it was like hell was because most of the crowd, if not like everyone, was just a bunch of people like in black suits and like black dresses and black outfits.
Mm.
And pretty much
Mhm.
everyone was like holding roses. There were like blue and pink roses. And I
Yeah.
don't know what the significance was, but it just felt very like not real. It was like
Mm.
very like kind of like just atmospheric. And so I just assumed that they were just in,
I
You know, it-
the
that
club in
is
hell.
yeah, that is a very good observation. Very good judgment of it. And I mean, there was also, there was lighting that was,
Right.
rather red in its shade, kind of evocative of that underworld setting.
You
But
know what? I
also,
wonder if I go to the Wikipedia for the movie, if in the plot it says where they go.
here's like the double-edged sword of that. Um,
hmm
it seems like they're gonna teleport to
hmm
the place because you see like clouds go over that
Yeah.
Scratch's head, and you're like, oh, he's finally gonna believe. And this movie uses its first special effect. But
hmm
then you see Ralph Macchio and Joe Seneca, like as if they just drove over, like they just
They
like
yeah, they appear.
they appear and they're like, oh, we just got here, man. You know,
well, that's
so
how teleporting works.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, it seems like they drove there. So did he give him directions to
Oh,
hell?
like, oh, I see. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Like, you know, like Scratch took his own transportation there, and they just had to like catch
Figure
the
it out.
cab to hell. To
Yes.
catch,
Yeah.
you know.
And also, how did they leave after they were done? Were they, can someone give us
Yeah.
a ride? I mean,
The dancing lady had to give them a ride back.
Mm,
So the Wikipedia just says they were at a music hall. Thanks a lot,
Yes.
Wikipedia.
Yeah. So
The
I mean,
truth is buried.
I think
Yeah.
I think it's deliberately left
Yeah.
ambiguous.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely does have that very, that very Faustian overtone.
Yeah. A
And
little uneasy.
and the low singing and stuff. You know what that reminded me of? That reminded me of some of the jazz funerals that they have in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Just yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's just, really, really deep, but it hooks you and it gets you listening.
Right.
Mm, mm.
What about you, Mike? What was your
Ah,
favorite?
so one of the scenes I thought was really cool was so this whole time you have this amazing like classical guitarist, and he knows every chord and every method and theory known to man. And
Mhm.
every time he plays what he thinks is blues in front of Joe Seneca just like cusses him out, says it's the worst thing.
He's very
Um,
negative.
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
that what are those lady parts chords? Which I'm curious to know. That was the PG version of what he said. I'm curious to know
Yeah.
what those chords are. Um,
I didn't learn those chords. When I took guitar, my teacher taught me
you don't
no
want
such
to learn them
chords.
because they insult Joe Seneca. So,
Yeah.
um, but basically, when he loses the girl, and then he finds
Mhm.
out he's been following a lie this whole time, he has his moment of, oh, I know what it's like to be depressed, and I know how to play the blues now. And
Mhm.
he grabs a guitar and he does like this awesome blues riff and wins over Joe Seneca. But in
Mhm.
reality, the method is he was playing way too fast. His pacing was horrible, and the only thing he
Mhm.
really changed when he got all depressed was he played a little bit slower and a little
Yeah.
bit better of a pace. So couldn't he have just said, "Play a little bit slower"? I mean, some of it could have been
Right.
like, here's a
Constructive
few
criticism.
tips. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
No, no, but Willie was Miyagiing him.
uh,
Yeah.
I mean,
He was being the blues Miyagi for
if
Eugene.
I want to learn like a punk song, like, do I have to take over a government and break a law before I can truly play it? Or can I just learn a few chords?
I
Well, I
thought it was kind
probably
of going to
admit.
go in a High School Musical direction because at the beginning there's a thing where like he's really good at classical guitar, but he also likes blues, and his like classical music teacher is like he like sneaks in a blues riff in his song, and he's like, well, it was good up until the end, and he's like criticizing him for like being into the blues. He's like, you have to pick what master you want to serve, or like being all
You
like
you
dramatic about
cannot
it.
serve two masters.
Yeah. And
Is
I was
is
like,
Here,
that
oh, so it's going to be like Zac Efron being like,
is
oh, I can like this and this.
is that a real civil war? Like the blues players are like turning their nose up at classical, and classical is like, ew, blues. I thought they
oh,
respected each other.
Yeah, both very technical guitar playing. Like
Right.
what are those plebeian chords?
Sound like lady parts chords, if you ask
yeah.
me. So,
Oh, okay. Well, in my case, if it's okay,
yes,
if
most
it,
memorable
or,
scene. Take
yeah,
it away.
yeah. Um, it would definitely. Uh, you know what? I kind of have to split it between, like you said, Mike, the scene where he writes his own blues song, and the final, the boss battle against
Mm-hmm.
against Steve Vai. I mean, that is really that's where the rubber meets the road of this movie. I mean, figuratively and literally, you know,
Yeah.
Willie Brown was right in the beginning when he said that the biggest difference between Eugene and Robert Johnson was that Eugene didn't have the mileage. He didn't
Good quote.
have, yes, yes, I agree. Yeah, yeah. He didn't have the life experience of a blues man. I mean, because I mean, I hate to go in this direction in this day, in this discussion, but you can feed Chat GPT you know, all of the material that it might need to create its own version of a Rembrandt painting,
Right.
but it's never going to evoke that feeling that, that a painter puts that, into their work, or that a songwriter, puts into the notes that they put down, you know, like, and, the classical part of, Eugene's solo in his duel, that is that is not quite so out of pocket as you might think, because
Right.
classical is like proto shredding. I
Literally. Yes.
Mm.
yes. Yes, I mean it uses the same scales, you know. Um, like a lot of Hebrew scales, um, minor scales, those those type of things are, they're very they're very evocative, and
Yes.
it's it's a big hallmark of both classical music and in like rock virtuoso playing. So yeah, I thought, I mean, I might be I might be a little biased, or maybe I'm just kind of seeing how everything works from like the perspective of someone who played a fair amount of guitar. Um, but I could see the correlations,
Oh
and
no, for sure. Yeah, I've
yeah,
I've said
Mhm.
that for years, that like
yeah,
classical like solos and like
yeah,
guitar solos are like the same thing. Like,
yeah, and the tapping technique that Steve uses on his
yeah,
guitars, that is basically playing piano on a very, very small instrument.
right.
I mean, the fingers are emulating the hammers, and they're all hitting the same notes. It's just cutting out the middleman of, the levers and the mallets and
Mhm.
all of that.
Well, there
So,
was there was a part where when Steve was doing his like very boastful shredding where he wasn't even touching the strings and it was still
oh
playing
yeah.
amazing
Yeah.
music.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like if that battle were an anime, that would be like he was saying, I'm only using 1% of my power.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
So, I think we got the greater parts of the movie, but I have a throw-in question that I've secretly always wanted to ask. Because I
Oh.
think
No.
the answer would be so interesting based on who's answering it and the movie it's going up against. And
Hmm.
so this is my question, and I might ask it for other movies. I don't know, depending on this episode. So, is this
Mhm.
movie better or worse than Forrest Gump?
I haven't seen Forrest Gump.
No, I thought I picked one that everyone saw. Should have vetted that question. Oh,
Well, unless I hate the movie, everything is better than Forrest Gump.
see, different
Real for
answers
that.
to different people.
That's a valid opinion. And uh I do believe that this movie is better than Forrest Gump. Not because I think Forrest Gump is an objectively bad movie, but it connects with me again on that musical
Right.
understanding, you know, of
They're both
of how
journey movies.
yes, they are. I mean,
Mhm.
one is much, 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 much shorter than the other. One doesn't ramble quite as much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you're asking from like a technical aspect, I think Forrest Gump is head and shoulders above this movie, like in terms of like the
Yeah.
cinematography and the writing and the acting and everything. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, like I I'm not a fan of Forrest Gump, so I'll say sure.
Yeah. Well, I consider Forrest Gump like the linchpin movie of the 90s, just on a scale where like a
Yeah.
majority of people feel good about it, except for Adam.
Sure. Yeah.
So comparing all movies to the only linchpin I have an understanding of is so interesting to me.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
because some of you will say The Matrix is not better than a Forrest Gump, while others will say, you know, Forrest Gump is horrible compared to The Matrix, but compared to Titanic, it's a little bit better. So,
Yeah.
My dude, everything is horrible compared to the Matrix.
yes.
Um, but I guess I also have to follow it up because I don't subscribe to the idea that just because you enjoyed something, it makes it better than something that you didn't enjoy. Like,
Right.
I didn't
Mm.
enjoy watching Schindler's List, but objectively, Schindler's List is one of the best movies ever made.
Right. You have to rate movies on both a scale of like enjoyment and just like a technical aspect. Like it was a good movie.
Right.
Mhm.
Maybe the better word is appreciate. Did you appreciate
Yeah.
Forrest Gump
Mm.
Hmm. Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
Schindler's List? um, Adam, if there was two VHS tapes,
Yeah.
Schindler's List and Forrest Gump,
Schindler's List. But I
okay,
also
Yeah.
liked Schindler's List.
yeah. So you would appreciate that one more, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I feel like
Yeah,
I'm
That
yeah, yeah.
trying to bait him into saying that he would want Forrest Gump over something else.
yeah, one day, Adam's gonna say,
I mean,
I prefer the Forrest Gump over Dante's Inferno.
like if I had to watch one movie or the other movie, you know what I mean? I'd pick whatever's shortest.
Oh, good luck with that.
But
Yeah. Well, back to our regular programming. Um, who wins, cast or crew? You can choose one person that you think totally nailed it in this movie, deserves their paycheck. Adam, I'm going to start with you.
I'm gonna go with the whatever cinematographer decided to let them shoot certain scenes in black and white because the entire movie is shot stock, like boring, straight down the camera, no exciting angles, just your
Yeah.
stock standard, like straight out of film school. Here's your, divided into thirds. But then like every 40 minutes or like the cinematographer's like, here's a treat. You can see this scene in black and white.
Well, there's like a dream sequence, isn't there, where Willie wakes up
Mhm.
or like he's having a nightmare and like the devil like comes down a
Yeah,
hallway
and
and
it's
is like
like in a
threatening him.
cool yeah, and it's in
Yeah.
like a really cool angle, and
Yeah.
it's like you could have a treat for this movie. You've
Yeah.
you've suffered through enough. You can watch this in black and white in this cool angle.
I feel like the movie desperately wanted to be science fiction, but like its mom made it do it
Yeah.
something historical.
I
Yeah,
kept
like
forgetting that there was like a supernatural like devil element, and then it would just pop back up and it'd be like, oh yeah.
yeah, it was yeah,
Mm.
totally.
Oh, well, that's a fair assessment.
All
Yeah.
right, Vincent,
Mhm.
give us your thought on who deserves their paycheck in this movie.
Well, I was gonna say that the real winner of this movie was the music,
So
Mm.
Steve
hands
Vai.
down.
Yeah.
Well, basically.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, Steve Vai and whoever was, Ralph Macchio's screen guitar
Stunt double.
coach.
hmm
Yeah. Yeah, shredding double. Blues double.
hmm All right, and Ivy.
I feel like at this point it would be remiss to not say Steve Vai or the dancing lady.
Oh my gosh,
Oh.
she deserves two
Oh.
paychecks.
Give her her
Oh,
flowers.
absolutely.
hmm
Yeah.
So you took my answer, but my second answer would be Joe Seneca because he feels like he's the Samuel L. Jackson of the
Yes.
1980s before Samuel L. Jackson was Samuel L. Jackson.
Of the
Yeah.
1980s.
Yes. So I really liked his role, his character, his energy. I think Ralph Macchio needed someone that interesting. Otherwise, it's based on his character and charisma, and that just ain't gonna work. So Joe Seneca, he worked for two people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when did Ralph Macchio lose his like nasally New Jersey accent? Because he doesn't sound like that in Cobra Kai. Like
Well,
was
I
the,
mean that's like a 30-year break,
Yeah.
so you think
between
puberty took that
projects.
all away?
Yeah, along with middle age.
Does middle age take away your New Jersey accent? I have to check this out.
I mean, maybe he's not living in Jersey.
Oh,
Dude,
People can move.
I was born and raised in Connecticut, but I have been all over because of like military and like whatever else I've had going on in my life. My accent is all over the map.
it
Like
is.
yeah. Yeah.
I didn't want to
Like
say anything, but it is.
about the only thing you won't hear come out of me is like Midwestern colloquialisms. Like you'll never hear
Um,
me call that stuff that comes out of the garden hose water, or
oh, I hate that. I hate
or the
that.
thing you look into to fix your hair, a mirror.
Oh, stop talking.
Yeah, it hurt to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so before we land this plane, can I read a couple of my favorite reviews?
Please do.
Yes.
Yeah, read away.
Um, this is from a an unknown author on Rotten Tomatoes. They say Steve Vai is such a wanker. Decent music, just terrible pacing. Um,
Did he like Steve Vai? I can't tell from
I
that.
don't I don't know. And
Mhm.
then another um let's see. Oh no, where'd it go?
There
Nope,
is a
not that
review
one.
on there that says this is the greatest movie, even if you don't understand the 70s.
What?
That's really funny.
They're off by
Hello?
at least 7 years.
It's really funny. Oh, there it is. 3 stars, unknown, another unknown reviewer. But yes, another movie where a random old ethnic guy teaches Ralph Machio a lost art.
Succinct.
Oh my gosh, Steve Vai is Johnny Lawrence. Oh, I see it now. Oh, I feel so dirty.
You're right. He is.
Without even saying
Holy
anything,
crap.
he
Steve
is.
Vai was William Zabka. He was the adversary.
He sweeps the leg. Oh, musically, he sweeps the leg. And going to the old ways, that's the crane kick.
Yep.
Oh my
The
gosh.
classical bit. Yeah, the classical riff. That's the crane kick.
Oh my gosh. This is all right. This might change my
And-
answer. Look,
And Scratch is John Kreese.
of course. And
Mhm.
I mean, isn't blues music always about no mercy? No fear? I'm
No
pretty
retreat, no
sure
Strike
surrender.
first, strike hard, no
Fears the
mercy.
Mind
Yes.
Killer.
Yeah. So, to wrap this all up in a bow, is this to be the greatest, to be enjoyed, to be removed from your memory, or to be forgotten?
Ooh.
Hmm. Who shall begin?
I'm going to go first. I'm going
Do it.
to say I'm definitely going to remember this movie because of how different
Yeah.
it is compared to all the other
Mhm.
stuff I watch. You'll never see a Netflix exclusive like this.
Nope.
I'm gonna say it's almost it's just like a little over to be enjoyed. I enjoyed it. And that
Yeah.
might be because of Joe Seneca having to work over 2 people. Or just because Steve Vai just looks so beast in his 10-minute scene.
Oh,
Either one
he
of those
yeah.
put me over.
Interesting.
Mm. Hmm.
That's a
All right.
based opinion.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Adam.
I'm gonna say to be forgotten for me. I think it had the bones of being able to like say or do something,
Ooh.
and it just instead decided to be like really safe, really generic, and like I feel it feels like a lot of the characters just kind of fall into generic tropes of themselves, and it just kind of falls a little flat. It is saved, I think, by the music, but yeah, I think that just the writing and the plot structure and the cinematography just kind of is like snooze city for me.
Ooh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Hmm.
All right,
Not-
Ivy.
I agree with you both, honestly. Obviously it's not like a garbage movie, especially by the standards of like what we watch
Oh,
usually for this show.
I thought it was the
Uh,
most well done so far.
yeah, no, yeah, for sure.
By
It
art.
was technically the best movie we've watched here. There was a lot of scenes that were really good, and there's a lot of things that I really liked about it. But for every like really interesting or exciting or just like musically interesting scene, there was a like mind-numbingly boring part where I would kind of start to zone out and be like, I don't care about this dynamic of like the the boy and the girl yapping and trying to get it, I don't know. I could not get behind that. So it's going to be somewhere kind of like almost enjoyed. Like I enjoyed it, I guess. Sure.
Yeah. It just
Mhm.
felt like
Yeah.
Ralph Macchio's character was just like a little child who just had no understanding of how the world works.
Well, I
And then
thought
at
that
the end of
he
the
was a
movie,
lot younger than he was supposed to be because I guess he was around, he's at Juilliard, so I don't
yeah,
know.
and he
I
said he
assumed
was
he was like,
17.
yeah, I thought he was like 14 in the movie. Like he did
Right.
not seem like he was
It's just like,
17.
what do you mean it's weird for a white person to be able to play jazz or blues at an African
Yeah.
American establishment in the deep South? What do you mean that's
Uh,
weird?
Do
Also,
that
he
with
would just steal the janitor's outfit and then just sneak into Joe Seneca's room and
Right,
pester him and then
right,
be
right.
like irritated when he'd be like, "What are you doing? Leave my room."
Yeah, it was like, ah, shucks, this whole bar is mad at me. I'm just gonna go put this gun down. Like,
Yeah.
uh,
yeah,
I
yeah, and
feel like
I
he was actually the weak point of the movie, if I'm being honest. Like, if they put a
yeah,
little bit more depth into his character, I think it could have actually been a lot better.
yeah, and I think that there's a lot to be said about like when they had said like you got to put some miles on or whatever. I was hoping that the movie was going to be like, hey, like you just haven't had the lived experience of these
Right.
blues players, aka like you're a rich white kid from the north and
Right.
like
mhm.
you're just not you're like no matter what you do you're just going to be like a passenger here.
Right.
um but it didn't matter because like at the end of the day like he saves everybody
Yeah.
because he's you know, the
He,
white kid is better at blues than the black guy that spent his entire life doing
yeah.
blues.
All
Mhm.
because the girl that was traveling with them for like 48 hours decided to
Right,
leave. And that,
right.
yeah.
It is a little rushed, but
Yeah.
now that I see it from the Miyagi angle,
Oh,
like
Mhm.
it's the next generation. It's like the reluctant janitor. Well, now he's um, taking on the young protege, taking a week to teach him how to be the best musician ever when the people he's going up against have been training their whole lives.
Mm.
It's
So
basically
you
one of
see
those
that
movies.
now.
Yeah.
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 The underdog.
Instead of getting his black belt, he got his black heritage.
exactly.
A.
Uh,
Hmm.
anyways, Vincent,
Yeah.
close us out. What did you think of this movie?
Well, not gonna lie, Adam, your words hurt me, but those are your opinions. That's fine. Yeah, I can watch what I like and you can watch what you like, which apparently, because of Schindler's List, is movies you don't like. I'm not
Well,
sure
not
how that.
enjoy.
So you like watching movies that you don't enjoy. Got it.
Yep.
I'm just messing on with you, man. You know, I everyone is gonna have, a different experience, when it comes to, whatever movie they find on this, free to watch platform, which I am discovering holds more treasures than I initially gave it credit for. And I'm not just saying that because I knew this movie before, because I had seen it before and I had watched it, but it's really it's really gotten me paying more attention to what's on Tubi. Like I'm being completely
Right.
honest, Like if I had to cut, my other streaming services, and just
I know.
depend on Tubi,
Yeah.
I would do it. I would do it. Well, maybe not Crunchyroll. I have to keep Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it
Tubi's
would be
anime
Crunchy
offerings are a
but
little bit weird.
Yeah, they're kind of mid.
Mm,
But yeah, otherwise, if it came down to it, Crunchyroll and Tubi, the only video watching apps on my
Truth.
devices. Yep.
Heck, I saw
So,
Barbarian on Tubi today.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Yes.
the
Yes.
Conan one or the horror movie one?
The horror movie, yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
good to know.
From like 3 years ago.
So, Vincent, you're saying to be the greatest or to be enjoyed?
I am saying that if you're somebody who is looking for a good movie and enjoys the 80s aesthetic, maybe recognizes, the name Ralph Machio, thinking that this might be a Karate Kid style movie, well, in a way, you'd be right. Because, Joe Seneca is like his Miyagi, and for those people, this is going to be a to be enjoyed. Now, for people like myself, who had seen this movie at a time when they were like learning about music, learning how to play an instrument, learning about the history behind music and how to connect with it through feeling, through emotion. I dare say it would have to be the greatest.
Oh,
I can't not say it.
this
It's
is
our first To Be the
momentous,
Greatest.
folks.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we said that about what is it? The Don't Trust Grandma or
Yes,
Yeah.
don't mess
Don't
with
mess with
grandma.
Don't Mess with Grandma.
This in my list, this is a very close second to Don't Mess with Grandma.
Yeah, it doesn't get better than that, folks.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to close this out. I'm going to say I'm the next person who gets to pick the movie, and I'm already saying it's going to be Heavenly Sword, the film adaptation of the PS3 exclusive video game.
Whoa.
Oh.
Loved the
Hmm.
video game, loved the voice acting from Andy Serkis. But now there's a movie with Alfred Molina in it and other great actors.
Oh.
And I didn't see any Andy Serkis, so I thought that was weird that he wasn't included. But I'm kind of curious to see how it connects. So if you want to watch Heavenly Sword on Tubi, it's free. You can join us in the conversation. Well, you'll be listening to the conversation, but you can pretend
Yeah.
you're talking to us
Yeah, you can pause it and give your thoughts and then
Yes.
continue.
or comment or
Yeah.
yes. So, anyways, thank you for joining us on this To Be Decided. I've been Mike.
I'm Adam.
I'm Ivy.
And I'm Vin.
And this is To Be Decided.
Yeah! Got my popcorn for the show, it's Tubi time. Cheesy sci-fi flicks and every weird rhyme. Aliens and spaceships made of tinfoil dreams in a cardboard universe where nothing's as it seems. Yeah, that's it seems. They got ray guns blasting in a paper sky. Cheap effects, but fun enough to fill your eye. Plot holes deeper than a crater on the moon, but I'm hooked like fish to a melody and tune.